Thank you for joining us on Fem Talk 89 FM. I'm Sulueti Waqa, and here with me we have Deepshika Raj from Vunimoli and Adimakitalena, a president of the Naleba Multiracial Women's Group representing 14 women. And today we'll be discussing human security and protection before, during, and after humanitarian emergency. Throughout the consultation, the common issue we've been discussing has been economic security. So what change do you want to see to ensure that this protection need or this human security priority are met?
The main human security priority, which is economic security, it is actually a national issue as affects everyone in this nation, and I believe that each and every individual has a right to basic necessity, and if we do not get enough sufficient money to cater for our needs and wants, then there is no need farmers to actually have access to this, because actually catering for cane harvesters and laborers, our labor is derived demand, and the ability to cater for laborers now is very expensive. The demand for them is very high, and there isn't any farming mechanism that allows us to harvest sugarcane faster and effectively. So that needs to come into consideration. Okay.
So what would be your recommendation to help in trying to ensure, to assist farmers in terms of, you talked about the difficulties in terms of harvesting and the cost of laborers. So what are some of the changes you would like to see?
I would like to see the government being more involved in assisting the farmers to provide subsidy here, and we are not able to get that sugarcane $20, and other demands are asked from the laborers. So how can we actually cater for them? It's very difficult. So actually farming mechanics, for example, the harvesters needs to come into this, and fair kg, right? Whereas Fiji produces its own sugar. So how will we be able to cater for that? We need to first go into the quota needs. I think the huge decrease in tonnage that will be seen this year, it will affect each and every that Adimakitalena told me that it was 80. Most people are affected, and we have to fork out more
to ensure the protection needs of the sugarcane farming community are met.
Just added to what Deepshika is saying, that I need to see this change to be the tonnage of the cane to be increased, because so that it can help. What has Deepshika has been saying that for 2050,
what could be done?
I think the sugar industry to look at what have Deepshika say, because now the farmers, the land, and also the prices of sugar we have to pay a bag of expenses. The sugar industry should look into these expenses, and they should look deep what the farmers are gaining.
Why does this needs to be done within the sugarcane farming community? Why are these changes need to happen?
It needs to be happen or done because sugarcane is a backbone of Fiji's economic source of income to the families and also to the community. Like right now in Naleba, most of the other islands of Viti, they are harvesting cane in Naleba. They came far away to come and harvest that cane in Naleba. So many people are around in Naleba.
Winston, for your community in Vunimoli, what was the situation?
So before that, I think the prolonged drought affected us all.
And immediately after Winston, you already had issue before Winston. Right. So,
well, after Winston, there was a huge, from beside the Benga, most of them were flooded and eroded away with the soil. So most farmers didn't actually have a source of income at that time, most of the sugarcane plantations were destroyed, and that's it.
So now, 5 months on, what is
difficulties in hiring laborers now, because there are no harvesters that will actually make the works of farmers. Commercial farmers find difficulties in actually catering for their laborers' needs. So whenever a labor comes in, they demand you like 500 on the spot. How will a farmer actually cater for their needs? And fertilizer cost and all of these are like extra hidden cost that the government should actually take into consideration. And these are the small building blocks that affects us all, I come from a farming background, and I think this issue is very near to my heart. When I talk about this, it doesn't affect me. We should take that sugarcane and put it in FSC, like harvesters are very important necessity, and decrease in fertilizer cost, and all those should be taken into consideration.
Thank you. So, Andy, what was the situation like before Winston?
Like just added to Deepshika, I think it's same what she said. Like we have faced a big drought, and it affected not only the sugarcane farm, it affects the families, the economic security, like chicken also, my chicken, for the water. It was drought, and it's very hard to cater for the water too, because it's drought. I think it's not only about talking about.
Are mostly engaged, and there is lack of representation. I believe that most females don't have land and that do not engage in planting sugarcane. So actually, there should be more women coming in authority, and they should actually be owning land and land leases. There hasn't been much done to give land to women so that they actually utilize it. Most, I believe, other countries are using their resources wisely. So in this process, Fiji should also move ahead, allocate different land leases to different women authorities so that they actually have a mean and a method of engaging women into income-generating projects. So this is one of the factors that women should consider. We should not be backbenchers, and by that I mean we should come forward and let our voices be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. We've talked about women taking part in decision-making. So what are some of the barriers that are there that's preventing women from being consulted or taking part in those decision-making processes?
It's actually the ancestral mindset. And by that, I mean that when elders come into, and elders are seated before you, you cannot even open your mouth. So as I'm of an Indo-Fijian ethnicity, so I actually can't have a say in what they have on the table. So by that I mean there should be women making up their own groups so that they actually can move and actually be more involved and more engaged in this process. Because if we are backbenchers all the time, then I believe you cannot have a country running by that. And we should be aware of what is happening around us. Thank you.
Thank you. So how...
It's through 1325 consultation, monthly. I think that went up. Most of the things, our issue have been addressed in this 1325 consultation in Family Pacific. We know that it happened. Most of the things it's happened in the north. Before, when the harvesting season was only 3 months. And when we raised up our issue in 1325 consultation, and it happened to be extended. And that case, it's happened now.
So tell us what some of the barriers that are there that avoid women from taking part in decision-making processes or being consulted in regards to certain issues, especially when it comes to the sugarcane industry?
Like the structures and the culture, women are not allowed to talk. Like we can see, I'm a president of Multiracial Women to know their different culture and the barriers. They are not allowed to come and talk. When we move to their homes, they are not allowed to come and talk. They're always in the kitchen. Not only them, but also us. And now when I've been coming to the consultation, we can see that in my communities are educated and we are empowered a lot.
So lastly, as you talked about being part of the consultation is an empowerment for you and your women's group, how can we support women and more women initiatives to participate?
We need to ensure full and equal participation of women, particularly in local governance structure.